Reports from both online and conventional news media and various eyewitnesses confirmed that hundreds of criminal elements were arrested by the police and other security agencies who attempted to disrupt the presidential and national election that held throughout the country on 23rd of February 2018. Scores of other criminal aspects had previously been arrested during the political campaign of the political parties for breaching the provisions of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. As it was in 2011, so it is in 2015 and the 2019 general election. How do we overcome the menace of electoral violence? The unsigned Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2018, in line with the recommendations of the Waste Panel Report of 2008, had recommended the establishment of Electoral Offences Commission / Tribunal to prosecute electoral offences. But the delay in passing the bill by the National Assembly and the non-assent to it by the President is a clear sign of rejection by the idea by members of the political class to enable them continuously shield electoral offenders, who in most cases are their thugs, from prosecution. Even the electoral offenders are investigated and charged. Their prosecution, which is usually taken over by the state attorney generals, are abruptly terminated due to political pressures from ruling parties in each of the affected states. It is advisable for INEC to take over the prosecution of such electoral offences as provided for by Section 150 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, which vested the Commission with the powers to prosecute any person who violates the provision of the Electoral Act. It is only when the Commission begins to use such powers, such persons as example, that people can be deterred from further committing the said electoral offences. I want to imagine, and I know you would also, a scenario where a public office holder is put on trial, not just for financial fraud, but also for electoral fraud, after his election has been nullified by the Election Petition Tribunal. It is on that case that we can truly begin to make example. The choice is INEC to make, and I know my panelists will also agree with me.
Is the choice really INEC's to make? That's the question, because the impression you get is that sometimes, and I'm trying to be an advocate for INEC a little bit, sometimes INEC wants to go further than they're being allowed to go. So you get the impression they're being restrained. Because one of the statements the chairman of INEC made was that he's really for e-voting, he's really for the future, and it would actually make their job easier. So clearly it's not in his hands. If it were left to him, a lot more would have been done to move things ahead. So the question I'm asking is it really in INEC's hands?
You want me to answer that? Or?
Anybody is open to the floor.
Also, if I may just add, tribunals and things like that, are they, when you've got courts and all that, sometimes aren't you modeling things up a bit too much in this country where we have all sorts of tribunals for all sorts of things? What's going on? When they say the job is for the courts, leave it with them. I want to know if tribunals really help the courts speed things up, or whether because I have noticed that Buhari especially appears to like to use what you may call paralegal institutions like that to run away or fight back the actual courts. So I'm seeing here that there's a possibility that some very mischievous people like him will use this election, giving INEC that power or creating that tribunal to, we'll just get into a mess. But I mean, you just...
I actually like the idea of INEC prosecution, because if INEC is responsible for the electoral process from A to Z, shouldn't they be the ownership, because they're the ones that have been, if you like, the crime is almost being committed against their process. So why shouldn't they have the power to prosecute? That's number one. Number two is INEC, we must believe, is supposed to be, what's the word? They're supposed to be neutral, right?
Independent.
Now, yeah, independent, thank you. So if they're supposed to be neutral, then that means that whichever party is committing the offense, hopefully INEC as the prosecutor, or perhaps even as a witness or whatever, INEC will then be able to say, you know what, we're not partisan. We are saying this person has committed this offense, and therefore, we're the ones taking him to court. I think that's important. So I do agree that INEC should be the one that's prosecuting, and we should take it away. Because I think what LIBOROUS is saying, LIBOROUS, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're saying is that right now it's the party, once it gets to court, the parties then bamboozle the courts in their favor, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Basically, what's happening here is, I've had courts to handle election petition matters. To answer the two questions, because of time, if you notice, because our courts are overwhelmed, all orders are courts though, but they are special court created to handle special matters. Like now, every matters that have to do with employment are handled by National Industrial Court. So that also helps in fast tracking the industrial related matters. For election matters, being sui generis, they are handled by election petition. And so some people were also of the view that we need to have, the same way you have election petition tribunals, that courts also, you should have tribunals for electoral offenses. And then also, INEC, after every election, they budget huge sum to defend election petition emanating from the conduct of elections. So they employ lawyers to defend these cases, even pre-election matters. So why can't you also, in the same vein, employ lawyers to prosecute electoral offenses? Because these are offenses, like Ireti has said, offenses are committed against your process. And so, if you allow the state attorney generals to take over the prosecution, depending on the state, if, for example, your people perpetrated the crime and you won, and you are the one prosecuting them, you won't definitely want to prosecute them. You would shoot them. And so that's why I am suggesting that if INEC begins to prosecute, it also will enhance their independence to use some people as example. In a situation where a man is alleged to have stolen a man's
what you're saying. Are you saying that as things stand now, INEC can make the choice without the bill being signed into law?
Section 150,
it's already provided for. That's what he's saying.
Okay, that's why it's in INEC's hands.
The only problem I have with INEC, I like what you're saying, but the only problem I have with INEC, being the prosecutor in this situation, is that INEC, we're not yet there where we see INEC as independent. So whatever INEC does,
but we have to believe in somebody.
But we're not yet there. So maybe when we've changed the electoral process and all the things that we have all complained coming from this election, that then we might be able to say, okay, INEC can handle that. But right now, I don't think anybody's going to have full confidence that when INEC is prosecuting, they're prosecuting
in an unbiased
from a
way.
non-partisan
Let's also look at it quickly from this point of view, that you agree that electoral offenses were committed in this election. And so if we say we are not there, so who prosecutes these offenders? So we say because we are not there, INEC has the power to prosecute.
Absolutely.
The law has given them the power to prosecute.
Why not
you
use
want
it?
them to leave it in the hands of the acclaimed winner to prosecute. Who will not prosecute those who perpetrated?
I mean, they might as well go ahead, but the point is we all think that they're already in the hands of the winner.
Can I just interrupt you? There was a headline today. Did you see the headline this morning? INEC has actually agreed for a commission to be set up against election offenses.
Time will permit us to take that headline, but maybe some other time we'll be able to discuss this deeper. While we pause for a reflection over the break, I know Ikene is eagerly waiting to ignite some fire of our own. So Ikene, over to you.